After 100 yards, turn left, then a bridge, then turn right.
Good evening, YouTube. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another video blog that I happen to run from my new job. Although for how long, that is a good question, because recently there happens to be a little bit of an issue with lack of work, and that is creating more and more issues. For example, well, because there is less work and because I'm relatively fresh employee, on top of that, basically my terms of employment are arranged through agency on something called 0-hour contract, which basically means that both me, agency, and my current place of work have an agreement, kind of like a mutual agreement, or rather agency and my current like a hirer or employer, they have an agreement that agency is going to provide certain number of workers to cover specific jobs, assignments, etc. The same agency has an agreement with me that I will be doing this assignment. However, they do not guarantee me work hours, which means that one week I might be super busy. I might be asked to eventually work 6 days a week. Obviously, it's not a must because, again, I also don't guarantee that I will provide any hours. I guarantee that I will be doing this job whenever we mutually agree that yes, I will come for that shift. Then I will just show up. But agency doesn't guarantee me that there will be shifts available. And recently, yeah, there's been less and less shifts, and eventually this week, initially I was supposed to be off for an entire week. Yeah, obviously agency doesn't pay me for that time off, so you can imagine how happy I am about well, the vision of making no money for an entire week. Thankfully today they called me and asked me to cover the rest of the week, which is, well, today is it's Wednesday. I will be in tomorrow and on Friday, because I already declared with agency that I won't be available on Saturday, so they are fully aware that I declared lack of availability for Saturday, and that's not going to change, even though they failed to provide me with enough work hours. But that also shows a huge issue with job market in the UK, because a lot of jobs, a lot of workplaces, a lot of places which want to hire employees, they got used to the fact that they have tons of people on the labor market, and that they got more people available than work, and companies still work in that old pre-Brexit style where they overhire people closer to Christmas. So they hire more people than they have work, because they expect demand to jump drastically closer to Christmas, which is one of their strategies. The problem with that is they hire those people through agencies, and they don't guarantee work hours. And you can imagine, I'm not looking for a job that will not provide me with enough work hours, so that I won't be able to pay the rent and other necessities like food or clothes, or yeah. Basically, I require a workplace to provide me a full-time employment, which means, well, in normal world, we are talking about at least minimum 40 hours a week. If they can't do that, then I'm afraid I'm not going to offer my services any longer. So I officially started to look for another job. And I got some responses almost instantly, to be honest, because there are plenty of companies right now who are trying to find drivers, even less experienced, which works in my favor because I'm not that experienced behind the wheel. And eventually I got some responses, I got some initial offer of employment, so I'm currently trying to arrange a new job, and hopefully that will keep on filling the gaps in my shifts. And I hope that by November I will be able to solve my employment issue, because what is happening right now is unacceptable. I can't really accept to continue working with a company that treats me like a spare wheel, because that's not the reason why I was looking for a job. Oh wait, this guy is turning, he's not stopping. Okay, he's very confusing. There we go. Yeah, I got confused by those lights. I initially thought that yeah, he is chilling at the lights. So yeah, pretty poor spot to actually stop. But it is what it is. Some people just decide to stop a few meters away from the lights. Anyway, coming back to employment problem. Yes, so because I'm on 0-hour contract, agency doesn't owe me anything. A company that I actually do assignment for doesn't really have to provide me with work hours, so their lack of management skills and their panicking or panic hiring is creating a problem for me. The good thing about contracts like that is that I don't really need to give them notice. So one day I can just turn around and say, hey, sorry, but you're on your own. I got another job, yeah? And that's precisely what's going to happen, because I'm not going to be wasting my time writing resignation letters and eventually making long goodbyes to a company that can't even provide me with bare minimum of working hours for me to be able to pay the rent and pay my bills. That's not going to happen. This is not a job, it's a side hustle, it's a side gig. Eventually it's a part-time job, and I'm not looking for a part-time job. If you can't hire someone for a full-time, don't offer full-time employment. And that is what was offered to me. Even though 0-hour contracts, I've been told, yeah, there is work all the time. We basically don't have issue with that. We rarely send people home. Well, recently I've rarely been at work, and I'm gonna be honest with you, it doesn't work for me. For someone else, yeah, some people like it. I know it. I've seen some people enjoy this kind of working, and they were angry that, oh no, I have to work 40 hours a week. It's kind of like a probably UK thing, but yeah, the job market in the UK is generally broken, and it's broken because 0-hour contracts. while they give a lot of flexibility to employers, they create that huge problem where people are honestly willing to work. They want to get a job that will help them get along and pay their bills and be in line with their spendings, and it's just employers that want to be malicious and hostile that overuse 0-hour contracts because they can't plan, and that is a clear sign of it when you hire everyone on 0-hour contracts and then find yourself surprised that people are leaving, because that's another thing that happens. Yes, that on the last day they ask you, hey, are you leaving? Well, yeah, I already did. So yeah, eventually I'm looking forward to find a new job, because even though 0-hour contracts are something that I can't escape fully, because you have to start somewhere and many businesses use it. There's maybe 1 or 2 businesses that I've seen that don't really use 0-hour contract strategy. So I have very little to no chances to get something more than 0-hour contract. But as long as there is work, then 0-hour contract is not a problem. But if employer can't provide work hours and they just think they can shut it down, snap the fingers and say, hey, just don't show up for a week, well, that's a signal for anyone to start sending CVs, because employers need to learn that this week that they give employees is more than too much. I'm afraid that salaries in the UK are not that high to justify being week off without pay. And in my opinion, yeah, 0-hour contracts should not be legal, or they should be greatly limited in terms of when they can be used and for how long they can be used, because it's not a problem to get 0-hour contracts for first 2 weeks, yes, so that employer can test you. They can test the waters, how things go with you, but then, yeah, the contract should be for a minimum of 40 hours or 20 hours if we are talking about part-time job. Also, there should be penalties for false advertising. Same as you advertise a product. If you advertise your workplace to offer full-time employment and then push 0-hour contract onto someone, that's false advertising, because full-time employment means 40 hours at least, because that's full-time. Yes, you get proper 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, or eventually what some companies tend to do, 4 days a week, 10 hours a day. There's also 4-on, 4-off system in the UK, which also works for some people, where you got rolling days off. You are 4 days in at work, and then you come in for another 4 days to have a weekend. Yes, so every few weeks you pretty much have full weekends. That includes Friday, Saturday, Sunday and Monday. That might be your days off, yes, and then it rolls forward, because each week it pushes by 1 week. So it's not a bad system. That's also a system that is somewhat acceptable, although I don't personally like that rolling weekend thingy. I really like to work on stable schedules, so that's the kind of job I'm looking for. And that's the kind of job I've been offered by another agency. So as soon as I will pass everything, all the checks. Obviously they need to check my right to work in the UK, they need to verify my documentation, get references from my current employer and previous employer, which shouldn't be too much of a problem, to be honest. And then they need to make some driving assessments, because obviously I'm applying for a driver position, so they need to check if I can actually drive a van, which is not big of a deal. I do that every day every day. I do that every single work day when I work in my current place, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem. Yet I still need to wait. So to kill that time, yes, I will continue to work with this company like nothing happened. And if it falls through, then at least I tried. I will try again, and I will try another job, unless situation will improve in current place, which we'll see how it goes. I'm quite sure that agency is fully aware that I'm looking for another employment, because as I mentioned before, they got a request for references. Yes, and that's why they called me this morning. They literally woke me up and asked me, hey, can you come to work today and for the rest of the week? Because they realize that if they won't provide me with enough work hours for me to pay my bills, I will just go. I'm not going to wait for them, because my landlord won't wait. Borough Council won't wait for their council tax, and many other places won't wait for me to finally start making money. So I can't wait for any sort of company to finally decide to give me enough work to cover hours, and that's basically it. So yeah, that's my take on 0-hour contracts. They should be illegal, or they should be greatly limited, so that agencies and other companies who are just trying to reserve employees for Christmas and not provide them with enough work hours to make a living, that should be greatly limited, because it hits country's economy. It has very negative impact on general economy, both of the area and of general population, because yeah, obviously if I can't make a living while I'm at work, this is not a good advertisement of what government wants to achieve and get people to find some job instead of sit on benefits. Because at this moment, as it stands out, I would probably be better off on benefits than I am while I'm trying to do honest work, because honest work is trying to punish me for trying to find a job, which is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous, and I think that system should change. But yeah, that's a problem with UK's labour market. Right, another thing, let's switch topic a little bit. As many of you may have already heard, in the UK, some genius, I can't remember his name because he's too pathetic to remember such things, decided to introduce 20-mile-an-hour speed limit across entire Wales. So basically, every single road that used to be 30 miles an hour by default, right now is 20 miles an hour by default. Is it bad? Well, in some places, yes, it is absolutely hideous and terrible. I think this should be reviewed and better micromanaged. Definitely some areas needs 20-mile-an-hour limit, and I agree with them. But there are some roads that are limited to 50 miles an hour. They are outside of residential zones. But they are too narrow to actually safely travel at permitted speed, and nobody is looking at that. Nobody is looking at the fact that on these roads accidents may be lethal, but everyone is trying to attack motorists who are trying to move around their own town or city for no reason. In many places for no reason, because 20 mph speed limit on a main road where you got light controlled crossings and all the fancy stuff to allow pedestrians to safely cross. I think that's just unnecessary issue for all the motorists, and obviously this is clogging the entire road because people are just slowing down to 20 miles an hour on the main road, same as they would do on residential roads or side roads until this point, because until this point it was only side roads where people actually have their entrances to their houses where speed limits of 20 miles an hour were introduced, and then that was extended to entire area. So if area is considered by town, city, village to be residential, the speed limits were dropped down to 20 miles an hour, and this is excessive. Usually it's a very wide, perfectly clean road that is limited down to 20 miles an hour for no reason. And I think this scheme should be greatly reviewed, and while some roads need some speed limits, I agree, in many cases this I don't know, it's a policy just to be, again, hostile to your general electorate or to your voters. Yes, so I don't know why governments are doing this, but they've eventually done it, and now they are trying to defend themselves, saying yeah it actually works. No, it doesn't. People are just pissed. It's that simple. Yes. Journey times are much longer in many places, especially in my job, when for large part of the day I can spend somewhere in Wales traveling between different shops, moving through different towns. This extra time adds up really quickly, and so obviously having that 10 mile an hour stricter speed limits is not helping me achieve my goals. But on the other hand, yes, it's definitely improved safety of some areas, and whichever area really needed that speed limit, people should be really happy about that, and I'm glad that they got what they deserve. But yeah, in many other places the speed limit is just overextended to areas where it's not needed. And finally, last topic, a tiny story that happened to me the other day. I think it was last week. I've been making deliveries, and I approached one of the shops. It was around 3:30 in the afternoon. So in the UK, that's a time when kids are finishing schools and they are on their way back home. And I happened to encounter a group of such young people who decided to visit the shop that I had to make delivery to. And I had that weird encounter with those kids, because let's face it, those were like school children. I don't know, maybe 12 years old, something like that. I had one of those kids casually, just as I was passing them with the bags full of parcels. One of those kids just literally tried to start conversation with me quote unquote, mate, I really like your touch. And I don't know what to think about this form of addressing much older person that you don't know by a school children. First of all, yes, I'm completely like stranger. Yeah, I'm complete stranger to this kid. Yeah, so trying to like engage with a complete stranger is, first of all, not the safest thing to do, and I wouldn't advise young people to do it. So yeah, because it's generally unsafe. You don't know who you are dealing with. On top of that, yeah, the way that this young person spoke to me, I don't know, maybe it's a cultural difference, but I find this to be rude, honestly. First of all, yeah, addressing me mate, yeah, by like 12-year-olds, it's inappropriate to say the least. Yes, I'm not at the age when such a young person could address me like I'm his old-term friend. That's that's inappropriate. Yes, so I'm quite sure there are some more polite ways to address an adult person by a children, although I might be wrong. I'm not specialist when it comes to English language, but I believe like young people should be told at schools how to address an adult person. I would expect hey mister or whatever, which is already more polite way to address an adult person, but I don't know, hey mate is probably not the way I would like a child to speak to me. So that's the first thing. On top of that, I don't know what that child wanted to achieve. I appreciate the compliment, I guess, but I don't know. At that situation, I'll be honest with you, I was a little bit rude in that sense, because I completely ignored that kid. I just wanted to get along with my delivery, but again, I was also taken aback by the way that this young person spoke to me. It's highly inappropriate, to say the least, and I don't know how to or what to think about it. Definitely in Poland there are ways to address a stranger to begin with, so even adult people do that. So as an adult, I would say dear sir or dear madam, or there is a way to do that in Polish, and we actually address each other in such a way in Poland, especially if you don't know a name of such person. So it's not only in letters in Poland. Like in Poland, obviously we have different language, and it's constructed slightly different. But yes, I would address a person, let's say a man, I would say proszę pana, and to women I would say proszę pani, which is way to address a man or a woman. Yes, if you don't know someone's name and if you want to be polite, you don't address them like you would address your dear friend, because yeah, then you are more casual. And I don't find kids being casual with me to be appropriate way to talk with strangers, especially with people who are at least 20 years older than you. But yeah, let me know what you think about this situation in the comments down below, because yeah, as I said, I was really taken aback and shocked by the way this young person tried to speak with me, even though he didn't say anything offensive. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm just getting oversensitive, but I don't find this way of addressing people as polite, or like a way to show some sort of respect to a different person, especially to much older person than you. Right, anyway, yeah, let me know what you think about it in the comments down below, and yeah, I hope you will have a great time, and I'll catch you next time. Cheerio.